So, that's right, I have finally managed to get 4 people in total on the podcast. I know we talked about this at the beginning of the update video, that there was going to be maybe some challenges, but thank God we managed to get everyone in here. So, without further ado, I'm joined again by my co-host, Alex.
G'day.
A returning guest on our Mandalorian and Game of Thrones series, Christian.
G'day.
And an old returning guest from our Marvel videos and stuff like that, Dylan.
It's your boy.
Yes. So, we got everyone here, and basically today we will be talking about Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker, delving into the last installment of the Skywalker saga, and basically we'll be doing a review on it, and just sort of talking about the ins and outs of it. We will start off with a spoiler-free review, so hopefully that is alright there. And then hopefully the next video after this will come out, hopefully even a day, will be the Star Wars retrospective, which will essentially be tying up sort of our loose ends and our experiences of the whole Star Wars thing, because more or less we've all grown up with it. It would be the prequel trilogies, but we've grown up with all the Star Wars films, so it's, you know, a nice thing a little touching moment to talk about our own experiences with Star Wars and rankings and all that. But without further ado, I believe we'll get straight into the review of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. So, to begin, does anyone here want to start off with their spoiler-free review? Otherwise, I'll go.
I think you should head it first, Ariel.
You think I should go?
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Alright, well, look. You know me.
We need to start off positively
Very critical.
before we get into it.
Yes, that's true. First up, I'm just going to say, at the end, I will say I've watched the film 3 times now, and at the end of each time I've watched it, I have felt satisfied. And I think that really ties up everything in sort of my expectations and everything, but sort of, you know, my general expectations coming into the film, you know, a Star Wars film, were like, come on, there's got to be some epic space battles or something like that, final confrontations between, you know, the dark side and the light side, a bit of character development here and there, and that's sort of that really innate Star Wars aesthetic and that sort of story, which is that sort of, you know, it's that idea of sort of, you know, hope, almost that balance, and just sort of, I guess also like a sort of a, you know, that heroic journey, heroic deeds and stuff like that. I would say, as a avid Star Wars fan, it met all those expectations and went beyond in most of them. I would say it went so far in the battles, like at the end was great. All the confrontations between all the, you know, the leads and all that, just they all came together. And I would say, like, going through this all the other Star Wars films, I think it's a little bit biased in saying this, but it is my favorite Star Wars film, because to me, when I watched it and everything, thinking about it, every time I watched it after the 3 times, it just tied everything up for me. It's like every question I really had was just answered. Everything about different characters or certain things were answered in some aspect. Even if it was left as a mystery, it was still like, it sort of filled that little void. And I didn't feel like, the strange thing is, like, I felt like I had this moment when I watched Avengers Endgame. There was like this moment, like, I don't know, I felt like something was missing at the end, almost. It like, I guess, you know, those feelings of like when you watch like a whole TV show or some shit like that, when you're like, you know, you feel like a part of you is gone. In this, like that, I didn't really have that. It, as I said, it just left me satisfied. And I think with all that positives, you know, stuff, I would have to say I would give it a 10 out of 10, purely because it does everything that I want it to do, and it's a fucking Star Wars film. And I'll say this again later, but out of the new sequel trilogies, this would be my favorite one out of the new 3 ones anyway. But yeah, 10 out of 10 from me. So I guess it can only go downhill from here, right? So who wants to go next?
Yeah, I mean, it was a film.
Oh, God.
As someone
A
who's-
film.
so
Maybe
I-
we don't have to
Yes,
drop
this
that far.
film was made out of a film.
So, I've seen it twice, and The first time I enjoyed it for the fact that I was really interested to see where they were going to go after The Last Jedi. I've talked to Ariel about this, where I said that The Last Jedi feels more like the final film in a trilogy rather than the middle film. So it didn't really leave a lot of space for characters to develop, which was unfortunate, because that ultimately means that in this film, none of the new characters were really developed further. So for example, you've got Finn and Poe, who basically do nothing the whole film other than accompany Rey, which is fine, I guess. It gives them something to do, but they don't actually have any, actual character
no spoilers,
development.
please.
Yeah. And, I haven't said anything spoilery yet, but, Rey, there's an interesting, character dynamic with Rey and, Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, and, it's interesting in this film, but I feel like it was more explored in the previous film. And, of course, everyone knows that Palpatine's back, which seems like lazy writing because they realised that it was a bad idea to get rid of Snoke. I don't know, it just seemed... The film feels very fast-paced because it has to get through a lot. And I think that... I would say I would definitely say that it's an end to the Skywalker saga, but I wouldn't necessarily call it satisfying. I feel like calling it satisfying would be giving Disney too much credit for rushing these films out just to make money, rather than trying to actually make a coherent, trilogy of films.
Oh, yeah, that's fair, yeah.
And I think a lot of my disdain for this trilogy probably comes from my disdain from Disney, so I feel like that's probably influencing it a bit.
Yeah.
But then, of course...
I embrace our new overlords.
Yeah, I embrace our new corporate overlords. Me, personally, I kind of see it as like what's the whole point of having the new films? And obviously the point is money, so I think that gives it a very cynical edge.
Mm-hmm.
At least, even in the prequel trilogy, sure, that was made primarily to sell toys, but at least George Lucas had some story that he wanted to tell. So, I give him credit there. And I feel like a lot of people will walk out of this movie maybe giving George Lucas a little bit more credit than he was given it for the prequels, at least, because I feel like a lot of people looked at those movies and thought, well, at least they were different from what we already had. That's pretty much my thoughts on the film from a non-spoiler perspective, I guess.
What about a rating?
I don't know. I've already said I don't like ratings on this because I gave Captain Marvel an 8 out of 10, which is a really bad rating considering how poorly the film's aged from when I saw it. And I feel like, from what I think right now, I'm probably going to give it a 6 out of 10. I want to be more selective with my ratings because I've been pretty poor with them in the past because I was just mostly just going on with the flow and I didn't really care, but I'd give this one a 6 out of 10. I'd say it's probably... I want to say it's the worst of the trilogy series, but I think that The Last Jedi just did so much to damage the trilogy, to damage the newest trilogy, that I think that even though I think it's a good standalone film, I think that from a trilogy perspective, it's the worst. So I give it a 6 out of 10. Might be...
I think that's fair, yeah.
I'd want to give it a 5.5 out of 10, though. So it's a soft 6.
You can give it a 5.5. There's no...
I don't like
problem with
point
decimals.
systems, though.
Yeah, but fuck, everyone does it.
It's a very soft 6. Soft 6.
Soft 6.
Yeah.
Alright, so it can only go up from here, correct? So who wants to go next, Dylan or Christian?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I definitely agree with a lot of points that Alex just made.
Well, you and I are pretty similar when it comes to films, though.
Yeah. I think, though, I do have a bit of a different answer, though.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just, yeah. So I agree with the whole, influence of The Last Jedi. But when I was watching Rise of Skywalker, right, I kind of looked at it, I watched it as a standalone film. And that
kind of have
being
to,
said,
because of the structure of the film.
Yes, but that's a big thing that has altered my very thinking of doing this rating, because it's because before I watched Rise of Skywalker, I hadn't actually rewatched the previous two films. It's been so long.
Yeah.
And I also have only seen Rise of Skywalker once. So it's still even not actually fresh in my mind. But from what I is still vividly in my memory, definitely the visual part. Like when I look at a film, I definitely think, okay, I look at it as a visual thing, like through like all the elements, like sound, special effects, all that,
Yeah.
dialogue, the character development, all that. And given all that, I think Rise of Skywalker visually looked fucking amazing. It definitely felt nostalgic. It definitely felt like a Star Wars film. And my rating for it, like just as a short review, would definitely be an 8.5. I would want to give it a 9, but influences from Disney, and also I'll get into this later, because I did also talk to you guys about this, is that Marvel influence in the film as well.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely pissed me off a bit.
But yeah, we will.
Definitely pissed me off a bit about it. So it would be a 9, but it is currently at an 8.5 for me. But still, I loved it, and I love the saga. So there's my.
All right, and Dylan. Fuck this film. It was trash. 1 out of 10.
I don't know. I feel like it's okay if you enjoyed it. I'm just saying that my perspective.
No.
My perspective.
This is where we review.
My perspective of how good a film is if I could watch it again and spot something I didn't spot the previous times. I don't think I'd want to watch this film again.
I fucking would. I would tell you, like, sorry, Dylan. Like, talking to Christian, I could probably shit talk on this like I do a bit on The Mandalorian. But I feel like, because I probably could spare the time really shitting on it. And I will say, talking to this, I will actually pick out some things after watching it the third time. But
yeah, but don't we take enjoyment on shitting on films sometimes? It's great.
Well, yeah. Well, we do. I do as well. I did take enjoyment in shitting on The Mandalorian a bit, but, you know, there is that aspect. I don't know. There's a different way I looked at The Mandalorian to this film. I think that's like the big difference.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, you go.
Major difference.
Yes. So pretty much similar to what Ariel said. I do like the satisfaction that it has ended. It did kind of satisfy that, like, this is finally done. It's kind of closed all the books a little bit. And same thing with Christian, where he talks about the visuals, and like as a movie looking at it, I thoroughly enjoyed it, just like from its picture perspective, what was going on, all that. There's a couple story things that was a bit like, wasn't my favorite compared to the previous ones. But I'm not trying to put any spoilers in, but there are times where I'm kind of like, oh, that's so predictable. You knew it was coming, and there was like one really big scene that I really didn't like, but I can't really spoil that.
Don't worry, we'll get into it.
But pretty much, like Christian, I give it an 8.5. I'm very much a sucker when it comes to kind of Star Wars or Marvel movies, kind of those ones. So Disney usually gets higher regards for me. I thought it was a satisfied ending, but I do definitely see how there were times that were a bit bad, but then there's other times where I get like goosebumps watching it, 'cause I'm like, oh damn, that's nice. So
That's dope.
Yeah, so 8.5 for me.
All right. I feel like that is good enough for the spoiler free. Now we can get into the spoilers. I feel like I want to, because Christian brought this up, and I don't discount your thing on Marvel influence. However, I just feel that I know it came out in the same year as Avengers Endgame, and so the thing we're talking about here is that at the end of the film of Rise of Skywalker, there's the epic climactic fight with Palpatine versus Rey, and Palpatine's like, I am all the Sith or whatever, and then Rey's like, I am all the Jedi, and it's basically it's
so
if you look
cringe.
at it, it's mirroring
so cringe.
it's mirroring it's
it
mirroring
was.
the Marvel Avengers Endgame where
there were a lot of points in the
Thanos.
film where I was literally like, oh my god, is this actually happening?
I am inevitable.
When he says, I'm inevitable, and then Iron Man's like, I am Iron Man. I understand. I can see that. It sounds exactly the same. However, I don't feel like, considering these two films were written. I know it's Disney, but it's still like, I don't think they wrote that in mind with both of them. I just don't feel like that was like the influences for both of them to write that. Like if anything, I felt like Rise of Skywalker would have had it first, if anything, because of sort of in terms of how I guess it was being prepared and stuff like that, or being made. I don't know. I think it's fucking cool. I don't know. It sounds cringy, but I think in the moment of it all, and the whole like tension build up, in the way it builds everything up, it's the whole idea of like, you know, I am all Jedi, I am all the Sith, stuff like that. It's that sort of, I don't know, it's that final, like, you know, chosen one climactic thing. It does happen everywhere, but I feel like, you know, it does it a way that, I don't know, I just enjoyed it, because then it's like, fuck, it's just a cool moment at the end when Palpatine is turned into like a shrimp as he fades away, and his entire plan is ruined. What do you say that, Christian?
Yeah, I think like the whole thing that just pissed me off is just like, obviously post Marvel feelings.
Yeah,
is just like, because, you know, Marvel's just been this massive thing, and now obviously for this year it's like, you know, sort of taking a break in the sense of like, I think there's like 2 films this year, and like I think the TV shows aren't coming out for a while. No. And like, and there's just like, okay, well, you know, we can focus on Star Wars, and that's what I was hyping up for, not Marvel, right? Yeah. And I expected a full-on Star Wars film, which it pretty much was, and I loved it. It's just that even some elements during the film as well, but like, it's just that the major thing that pissed me off was just that final moment. And even if you take away the actual Marvel influence there with Rey and Palpatine, I couldn't help but kind of cringe at it, because it just seemed like, even at a sense of a dialogue level, it just didn't seem right. Like, you know, in that moment of like extreme tension, and like it's been building up to this one moment, you're gonna say like, you know,
I don't know. I'm against that, but I can see where
that's okay. Like that's you know, everyone has their opinion, and then
that's why we're here.
Just for me, it just didn't seem right at all. Like,
did you see that edit where instead of saying Rey Skywalker, she says Rey Solo? Who are your people?
No, but I want to.
Rey Solo.
But I see with that scene that you guys are talking about, I thought it would have been really cool if they had, you know, I can't remember which one it was, but in particular, the one with the Jedi ghost.
Force ghosts,
yeah, the Force ghosts. If like all the Force ghosts kind of formed up behind her, starting with like Luke with a hand on his shoulder, going back to like Anakin, Yoda, whoever, like just keeps going back, like just to all the Jedi, because then it would be like a sick thing, kind of like they're all there for her, they're all there together. Bam! See you later, Palpatine.
That was reportedly a cut scene. I remember reading that. It was a scene that was cut from the film. They were gonna have like an Anakin Skywalker played by Hayden Christensen and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I wanted to see Hayden Christensen on screen.
I did as well.
Please. or Jar Jar. I don't know.
With that final thing, I when I first watched it as well, I fucking thought like, why the fuck, like they have all these voices, why don't they actually have the people there? It makes like so much sense. Reading it, watching the film again, and really thinking about it and delving into it. So there's another moment in the film right at the end where we only see 2 Force ghosts, which is Leia and Luke, you know, at Tatooine. Yeah. And it's like, why aren't the other people there? So the whole like idea behind that, I was reading this, and to me it makes sense. However, it would be cooler. It makes sense why they did it like that, but it would have been cool if they actually had all the other Force ghosts there. So the whole idea was, the way that I feel like how Force ghosts work are they actually can only talk to the people that they're really connected to. And the only 2 people Rey is connected to is Luke and Leia. She doesn't know who Anakin really is. She doesn't know who Yoda is. She doesn't know who Obi-Wan is. She doesn't know any of those other voices. So the whole idea why she only could see those 2, Luke and Leia at the end, the Force ghosts, was because she knew them like really well. So the whole idea, I think, is that when it comes to Force ghosts, you can only really see them if you're like super connected with them. If you really knew them and like had this Force connection or some shit like that, right?
Which explains why Luke saw Anakin.
Yep,
Yoda,
that's why he saw
Obi-Wan.
Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda. Yeah, he didn't see like Qui-Gon Jinn, who became a Force ghost.
That's a good concept, but I don't know if I'm willing to give the film that much credit for that originality, because they cruised by on so much original trilogy nostalgia and everyone knows that the prequels are bad. All right, let's not go around.
Whoa! Wait a minute.
Let's call the horse a horse. The prequels are bad. So
bad compared to the rest of the Star Wars films. Just not. I wouldn't call them bad. I would just call them, compared to the other Star Wars films, they're not as good.
Bro, the prequels are hilarious.
But I know what you mean. So,
they're hilarious. Okay, but the point I'm trying to say
makes them good.
That obviously, I don't think Disney wanted to touch the prequels with a 10-foot pole. So obviously, they're not going to let any of the characters from the first trilogy into it, because it's just in their opinion, it's tainting the film. Despite the fact that, in my opinion, I actually would have seen it as a better thing, considering it's like wrapping up the whole saga, I guess. But
yeah,
obviously, yeah.
But like the other thing to think about is that this is another. Sometimes I do think about this when it comes to like these films and when it comes to books and TV shows as well. I've talked about this a while. Is that like, because this is ending an entire saga that's lasted like 40 years, and they haven't had the entire 40 years to build it, though they've spent, years building this, trying to tie it all up in one film. It's a pretty hard task, especially considering how many people love the series, right? So it's like, when it comes to them actually developing this final story, it's like, it's so much pressure to build it so then everything is tied up together. That being said, there's obviously influences of, money and everything like that, right? So obviously they're going to, try and get as much bang from it as they can. And when it comes to, everything influencing it. But I definitely see why, they could have incorporated so much more from the original trilogy or the prequels, and they could most likely the influences there were actually because the prequel wasn't as well received as the others. But I feel like it's just even with just time constraints and pressure, they couldn't obviously put it all in. Because I bet you right now, once everyone's seen it, probably everyone else has a better way on how to end the series. We could probably all come up with our own idea of what would have been better. But that just comes with everything when it comes to books, stories, movies, TV shows.
Yeah, but at least the people who come up with this fan stuff have more passion for the franchise than the company itself.
I'm gonna be a bit of an asshole here, but I feel like I understand the fan service and all that, and I will say this was a fan service for the movie.
Fan service.
I like the fan service and shit like that from it, but I feel like we all have to remember what this fucking film was built for. The whole series, the saga was built on.
Money.
Not money. It was built as money, but children's. It was built as a children's story. So when it comes to adults and all of us reviewing it as this sort of, not a child film.
Children's stories can still have complex characters and complex storylines.
No, they can. There's plenty of examples, but I think the whole aesthetic of Star Wars is cool.
Of it being that just because it's for kids, it has to be simplistic and dumb.
Well, it's not simplistic, I don't think. I don't think it's simplistic anyway. But when it comes to the whole series was necessarily sort of built on the idea of a kid's thing. I will reiterate this same point what I'm about to say in the next part of this. But the other big thing is, I've told you about this, Alex, and I think you agree with it, is that when Star Wars was first made, it was this massive change of story and on the big screen, because it was basically the first time we ever saw this whole thing about science fiction, epic space battles, this thing in space and everything like that, right?
We talked about it was the first science fiction film
first of its kind,
intelligent or cerebral, and it was very it had a lot of fantasy elements.
And I feel like a lot of people who have watched it with that sort of idea of it being this such a new big thing, that's what a lot of the influences are on people's opinions. So they I feel like the big thing is that when it comes to all these new Star Wars films that have come out, the big example here is the prequels and the sequels, is that there was that little thing in the back there that was sort of like, this has to be something completely different, because that's what the whole Star Wars sort of thing is. It's just something that's completely different to what has been done before. And the thing is, the prequel did that. Like, I think we can agree it sort of did change a lot of things, but it sort of didn't do it very well. And the sequels, like, which try and remedy that by trying keeping to the original trilogy, but they sort of kept too close to the line and sort of didn't have as much time to build something different, if you know what I mean. Like, it didn't... The whole thing is there, what I'm trying to say is, I'll say this again, is it's the idea of how when the first Star Wars films came out, the original trilogy, A New Hope came out, it was this sort of whole new big thing that came out, and everyone's idea is like, holy shit, this is amazing. This is so cool. Like, you know, what else could this mean for the rest of Star Wars? And obviously the rest of Star Wars came out. But yeah, like, that's another thing I'll talk about in a bit. But back onto the actual film. When it comes to, I guess, problems also, like... Actually, I want to ask, what were some problems you guys had with characters and stuff?
When Rey and
In
Kylo
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
Okay, let's do that one first.
That was pretty bad.
I was not a fan of that because they didn't really build a relationship, and the next minute they're having a smooch. It's like, nah, doesn't happen.
That's also influenced by the like dodginess between each films, I think.
Yep.
Like, they're supposed to
But
hate each
also,
other. And
like,
it looks
I
like
think-
they hate each other, and then next minute they connected. It's like, what?
Like there's this like weird force connection, right? But
Yeah.
like it's just obviously for me it was like there was definitely a connection between them, right? But I didn't see it as I didn't see it as like a loving connection. Like I just saw it, just when I was seeing it, it just made me uncomfortable. I was like, oh.
It definitely did make
No.
it uncomfortable. I think if
Like,
anything, it could have just been like a brother and sister thing, like a family thing, not like a fucking full-on...
Not even a
Kissing
family
to them.
thing. Like just
No.
like it's just like an unspoken connection. Just like, you know, they hug. You know, I did like the
Well,
part
yeah, that's what I mean, like,
where
just
he
when
like
they
just,
hug.
you know, he gave back her life energy, and I was like, yeah, that's a good thing, you know, on a character development standpoint. But just that one kiss was just like, oh no.
It is a bit weird, but like
Yeah.
going through it, like the only thing I can think, I agree with that. It's sort of like, it just felt like just straight out of nowhere. It just didn't really have any real reason to happen. And I like, the only thing I feel I can sort of try and like sort of you know, align with that is that, because you know how you said this, where there's like that weird forced connection between Rey and Kylo Ren and Ben Solo. They have this like really weird thing where they can see each other, and basically the only thing is, it's like they're sort of both these two individuals whose emotions are just so like uncontrolled almost, because of like, one, obviously what's going on with the fucking rest of the galaxy, with it like basically about to end, and also with them sort of, you know, seeing each other a lot, sort of trying to understand what's all going on. It's sort of this, I guess, inner conflict. I guess like if you were to really look at this as like some metaphor or some other shit, than what it's actually given on as screen, you could almost look as it as like before, where they had this sort of, I don't think it was necessarily hate between the two of them. It was just sort of this uncontrolled flash of emotion between them when they saw each other. They didn't really know, you know, what to really do, and that sort of like sort of thing at the end there is almost like, now that uncontrolled sort of emotion is controlled in a sense, if you know what I mean. But I still agree. I still think it was a bit dumb, and it didn't really fit it. And I think if it was to fit anything, it would be more on a metaphor level than an actual, like, you know, what we're seeing on screen. Because yeah, it didn't really make much sense, and it's a bit weird. And then obviously Kylo Ren died. Ben Solo died.
I feel bad for Finn. My boy just wanted to get with Rey, and he couldn't.
I don't think he did. I don't think he actually ever did. I feel like
Did you guys ever end up reading up on what he wanted to tell us?
What do you want to say? So, I believe, if I'm correct in saying this, he wanted to say he was like, well, this is speculation, there's not actually a confirmed thing, but he wanted to say he was force sensitive.
That's what I read as well.
That was like it's sort of evident throughout the film because he's like, I have a feeling, when he sees like the control tower for all the Sith ships as they rise up. Yeah. He basically has a feeling where it's like on this capital ship. It's like, how the fuck do you know that? However, it does sort of, you'd also think like that is the biggest ship there. You know, when you think it would be on that ship that would be controlling the whole fleet, sort of to me, it's a bit like, doesn't really have to be a feeling, but the other thing is when he
visual feeling.
He has a visual feeling. When he notices, when he feels like Rey basically die for like a little bit, he's like, oh no, she's dead. Well, he doesn't say that, but we know that like Rey's dying, and he's just like, he feels it. So yeah, I think it is him being force sensitive. But I don't think he ever had a relationship with Rey, and I don't think it really would have fit.
There were a couple times that looked like he was kind of interested.
It looked like it, because like not the original thing, but there was a lot of the thing about like shipping what's his name, Poe and Finn as a gay couple in it.
What?
And I don't know what happened. I don't know like what happened to that, and I don't know if that was actually an official thing or was just something written up. But
yeah, I can't see that. They're more like brothers.
Yeah.
That's
what I thought as well. I felt like they were like more bros than they were like...
handshake, bro, man. You're my brother. I don't know what the fuck that's what I'm saying. But yeah, talking about Finn though...
I could see it after the first film. I think after the second film, not so much, because it was definitely more of a bromance after the second.
Yeah, the first one probably...
Yeah, you know what? That's what I'd say it is. It's definitely a bromance. 100%.
Bromance.
Nothing really good about it. But yeah, like, talking about Finn though, like, who said before that he was like being a wasted character?
Who?
Did somebody say he was a wasted character in this film?
I feel like to some degree he is. I felt like all the new characters...
I agree. Because, you know what? If you think about it, what was his dialogue throughout the whole film? Rey!
Yeah.
When it comes to that, when it comes to him, you know, with the moment when Rey pushes him away...
Yeah, the force push.
Into the thing. I don't like a lot of people saying like, why the fuck did he do that? To me, it makes a lot of sense because of the tension of the moment and the reason why he even went there in the first place. He went there to, I don't know, like, he didn't even know what he was doing. He didn't have a clear mind, and that's why he obviously ran up and was like, Rey. Obviously, he didn't clearly think it through. But in sort of that moment of like an actual character, you think like, if someone else is in that position, you know, what would you do? And because of all that emotion, and then obviously Rey pushed him away, it's like, oh, fuck. I think, like, I would say this, I think it was useless in fucking The Last Jedi, because, like, obviously that didn't end up doing anything. I felt like he had a
purpose in The Last Jedi, but I felt like they purposefully made it useless.
No, if you think, like, I'm not questioning character actions or choices as characters. I'm talking about, like, using characters in a film. Like, for example, Poe had some degree of like other types of development and also arcs and also backstory as well, because we got that sort of thing with the, I don't know, the Power Ranger looking chick, right? Where's the curiosity there? But when it came to Finn, absolutely nothing, except for like that one, I guess, the Stormtrooper thing. But I guess also that didn't make sense because he was like, oh my god, you're like part of the Stormtroopers too. And then they proceed to start shooting Stormtroopers, their own people. Like, you know, there's a bit of hypocrisy there and unironic. But
it's weird because Finn felt like Han Solo in the original trilogy. He had something to do in the first and second movie, but in the third movie he was just kind of there.
I feel like it also had to do because there was that other chick who was like, you know, basically she was hated on in Last Jedi. Rose, and she's like had no role.
Yeah,
I felt sorry. I felt bad. I felt bad.
I didn't like her character, but as an actor, she was actually really good as an actor.
She did it well. Like,
yeah, she's a good actor, but like her,
it's just
she could have just not been in the film. It would have been the same film.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, it was a bit, you know, because there was a less amount of films, but I feel like the only thing I guess you could say to that is because it goes with the whole thing of like this film was super fast and it was trying to tie up all these things. By adding another like whole character story for like Finn, it would have just made it like a lot longer. and probably
I
wouldn't
mean, no
necessarily...
complaints if it was longer.
No longer, but it would be more or less like, would it really add more to the film?
No.
See,
100%
so
not.
like, it wouldn't add anything to our... You could...
Well, at the same time, they could have just cut stuff out of the film. It still would have been the same film.
That's true for anything, really. You can cut down a lot of things, but I definitely think...
It's just
when
like
it comes
Raiders
to
of the
this-
Lost Ark. If Indiana Jones wasn't in the film, it'd be the same film.
But when it comes to, so like some characters like that, it is a shame that they don't get as much, I guess, screen time as everyone else in terms of development. And the other thing I guess you could say to that is that if you want to know more about them, there's like a billion comics out there. But, I don't want to do that. I don't want to read that. I'm just going to watch the film. That's fine.
On the basis of like characters, though, like we've just been shitting on some. But I think as a good point, I really enjoyed seeing Han Solo again. Out of fucking nowhere, I was like, it's
Man,
my
he
boy.
was fucking literally just there. He's like...
Yeah, he just fucking...
get paid.
Hey, I'm here.
I'm not doing it.
But that was so awesome.
It's
all for a day, right?
Dialogue.
But it
I
was
wonder if
so
it was on
cool,
his
though. Like, it definitely added to Ben's, like, story arc. Like, to make him, like, it pushed him over to change.
Over the limit, yeah.
I don't think it's very. I think it's a pretty popular opinion at this point to say that Kylo Ren / Ben Solo was the best part of the trilogy.
Oh,
And a lot of people believe
Yeah.
that Adam Driver was an amazing actor.
He definitely did really
He's
good.
got a lot of other good films as well. I need to see Marriage Story, and I watched Black Klansman recently, which was amazing as well.
You know what I actually watched last night? This Is Where I Leave You, and it has Adam Driver in it as well.
I haven't
Oh
seen
my
that
god,
one
that's
yet.
such a good... Yeah, it's actually really good. It's very heartfelt, and Adam Driver plays like a very comical character in it, which is great.
He's a great actor. I mean, let's be honest, none of the actors were terrible, but I feel like it was just the material that they were given. At
Adam
least in
Driver
terms of the
fucking
last film,
pushed it.
and even the second film to a degree. The first film, I think The Force Awakens was probably the best film out of the trilogy, which is weird, because at the time I was hoping it was going to be the worst, because I was like... Because the entire thing banks on Star Wars nostalgia to the point where it's like, oh yeah, it's clear that Disney wants to make something here, but they're obviously just playing it safe for this movie, and then we can get something really interesting next film, right? But it never really went beyond that. It never really went beyond the Disney, the Star Wars nostalgia. So
Yeah, I think on that point, definitely, like, for me, I can't actually, like, tell myself what is my favorite out of the trilogy, because for me, on, like, a standpoint of different aspects, there's definitely stuff that is better in, let's say, for example, The Force Awakens than in Rise of Skywalker, but then there are some things in Rise of Skywalker that are better done than in The Force Awakens. Like, it's sort of hard to really determine, like, it's just a game of like, oh, okay, there's this and there's this.
yeah,
What do I like? It's really just it's a base of personal preference. It's just like, what do I like more? But I think if I really had to say, I still would say, I'm totally going off my point now, but I would say actually Rise of Skywalker, because like, it's just for me on a visual standpoint, just especially with that fucking scene of like just Palpatine shooting the fucking lightning out in that, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so awesome. And I think I was just saying that to myself at least in like every 5 minutes while watching this film. I was just like this is so cool. And like, so you know what, I'm actually gonna just drop that point of like, I can't determine. I'm gonna pick Rise of Skywalker my best for this trilogy. But
yeah, on that
you were saying
on that thing, I like the part when all the big ships come out of the clouds, like they start rising.
Yeah.
That stuff just looks sick. Just like the sheer number of them is just like, damn.
And they were like shitty ships.
So that
like,
also goes back to my Marvel point. So
okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I know.
when the whole
it was
whole team
definitely
rolls up.
like all the guys roll up.
A Star Wars expanded universe now. Star Wars films will fucking die.
But you know what? I looked past it because it still looked fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I was
because that's
yes.
what you want. It's like, fuck, it's like
The boys roll up. We're getting him.
Yeah, like the only thing is that there are definitely, when you think about it, there are a lot of influences from like Marvel into it. Those 2 points there with the big ships and the thing at the end there.
The movies also tried to be funnier as well.
Yeah, I definitely. I think
the original
like,
trilogy was never on purposefully funny. It was always funny from from an ironic
A
perspective.
meme standpoint.
Well, not only that, because the world itself took itself very seriously, and that was kind of what made it funny.
Mm.
The characters took themselves very seriously, and everything that they said they believed was true. But this film, they kind of know that they're in a movie almost, and they make jokes.
Yeah,
but
I see what you mean.
I think that's good on a storytelling point of view, because like it really like if you're like serious the entire time, and like there's definitely viewers out there who can get distracted, having those like points of like comedic effect definitely draw them back into the film.
Yeah,
which
I think
is
that's
great.
the problem now, that there's not as many as these seriouser types of films. Like in terms of like, it can't really take itself too seriously in like a fictional world or some shit, because either one person will just like get distracted.
You can't ever take yourself too seriously, but I think you can. I think that Marvel gets away with it. I think, and I think their movies are really well done with the humor, because I feel like
I don't think they're that serious though.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying they're not serious because they realize it's a silly.
I thought you were
concept.
saying they were.
It's a silly concept, but I think that the way that Star Wars did it was that it was a silly concept, but it also committed to the fact that it was a silly concept and sort of expanded upon it, rather than because like. You would say that the original Star Wars were completely different to, like, let's say, a DC film. A DC film that is way too serious and is way too, like, up its own arse to fucking say anything meaningful. But if you look at Star Wars, it realizes that it's a dumb film, but it doesn't distract it from the seriousness of the world. It just distracts it from... It just doesn't really have a coherent, a really important message that it's trying to push. Obviously, Star Wars does have a message, but the entire message being, dictatorships are bad or whatever. I can expand upon this later, I guess, but that was at least George Lucas's original thing. Star Wars had really heavy...
Emperor Palpatine is bad.
Star Wars had really heavy influence from World War II, and all the weapons that everyone uses are modified World War II weapons. So Han Solo's DLL is like a Mauser pistol or whatever, and all the stormtroopers use Sten guns. But the point is that... It was supposed to be like a World War II in space kind of thing, I guess, or a war in space.
Oh yeah, because like it also takes a lot of inspiration from like samurai films and shit like that as well.
Exactly.
Well, the original one said it anyway.
And a lot of old sci-fi movies. So like C-3PO was based on like a gold droid from, I can't remember what it was from, but that was definitely
Spaceballs. Spaceballs.
No, I don't.
I love that
so.
film.
They need to make a sequel.
I see your Schwartz as big as mine.
Well, we can get it with one way: merchandising. That movie was really good. But yeah. Star Wars. I don't know. I've also never really seen Star Wars as a specifically tailored kid film. Like, it's not really for kids, because if you look back, there's like murder and stuff in the original films. In the original trilogy, Han Solo shoots a guy in a bar. And a guy gets his arm cut off with blood. It's not like... I feel like the problem is that...
Who shot first?
George
McClunky.
McClunky, fucking hell. George Lucas tried to fit Star Wars into a kid-shaped peg after he realized that he could sell merchandise, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but... Me personally, I feel like it was never made for kids, and I feel like the whole seriousness of this series is... I feel like it could take itself more seriously, and I feel like the problem is that...
I don't know, I feel like if it did, people would just shit on it even more.
Yeah, potentially. But I mean, look at The
That's
Last
the
Jedi.
problem.
That was a film that took itself fairly seriously, or at least the subject matter. There were jokes in the film, but the subject matter took it seriously.
I think it was maybe one of the most serious ones.
But at the same time, people made fun of it because they thought there were too many jokes. So...
I think that's the
Star Wars
problem though
prequels
with
take
audiences.
themselves to some degree too seriously, but they're also at the same time they're also hilarious because of the dialogue. They're funnier in the same reason.
Yeah, but that wasn't intentional, really, was it? I don't think.
Have you gone back and watched the original Star Wars, Ariel, and have you seen how terrible and how cheesy they are? There's literally a scene where Luke Skywalker
which version?
Well, I'm
because
that's a good point.
There's the reimaged one.
I don't really feel like there's that much change between the versions, but other than like added scenes and CGI. But the point is that the original trilogy was very unintentionally funny because of how seriously it took itself, but also B, the fact that it was very cheesy, and I feel like that's something that Star Wars lost. Because in a way, what I'm trying to get across is that in a way it was charming.
Yeah.
It was very charming, and you kind of like, you were swept up in like...
The times be a-changing.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think you could release a standalone film that was like that these days, but I feel like the fact that they're Star Wars films and that you could genuinely make them the same as the original trilogy, at least the same tone, and people would like it.
Challenge accepted.
I feel like oh, you go, yeah.
I was just going to say, I feel like Star Wars moved away from what it originally was tonally, and it's become more of a film for... it's just a summer blockbuster now.
But that's like...
Would you say that? I wouldn't say that.
Well, in terms of like the way everything is developed. But quickly, I'm being a hypocrite here.
Yeah.
To everything I've basically just said before.
Hold on. Before you get off that point, before I say it's just another summer blockbuster, what, in your opinion, is the best Star Wars film from the Disney era?
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna straight up say this. Rise of Skywalker. I'm not gonna say anything else.
Yeah.
However, I want to say,
now,
can we save this for the next?
I just want to ask this question. We can. Yeah. I can expand on my point further, but I want to ask the question: what is everyone's favorite Disney era film? Yeah, Rise of Skywalker. What about you, Chris?
My God. Oh my gosh.
A good one.
You can't just push that on me. Oh,
Think
man.
about this. We can do it later because this is a hard one. I just sort of have thought about it enough, so I think we'll just say that for now, if that's right, Alex. So then Dylan and
for
Chris
me,
can think about it. Oh, okay,
it's really tossing up between Return of the Jedi.
Revenge of the Sith, let's go.
Return of the Jedi is a Disney era film.
Disney film, so prequel and sequel trilogy.
No, prequel
so
isn't Disney era, just the sequel trilogy. Sequel trilogy, Solo, or Rogue One.
Sorry, yeah. No, I just didn't think that for a second.
Oh my God. Okay, well, Rogue One was amazing. I
suspected someone would say Rogue One. What about you, Dylan?
I think...
Wait, so which one is it again?
You can choose between the sequel trilogy, so The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Solo, or Rogue One.
See, I haven't seen Solo or Rogue One yet, so...
The hell?
Well, I actually haven't seen Han Solo, but I've seen Rogue One, and I loved it. But I think if it's in that case, then I'm actually going to go with Ariel on this one. It's definitely Rise of Skywalker for sure.
I really like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, actually, that's a good... Okay, that's good. All right. Do you want to go on to the next session? Are
you a critique here, Dylan? Sorry. I'm just saying that because I was reading it like... Every fucking thing I've read on people ranking a lot of the films, like all the critiquers anyway, they've put like Last Jedi at like the second, or even some of them for the first. And every other fan thing I look up at like a Reddit, it's like Last Jedi at the bottom.
Yeah.
But we're gonna add a second, because I want to go back to my point. I'm gonna be a hypocrite here, and I am actually sort of skipping ahead in what I want to say, is that. I said before, you know how it comes to like there was that feeling of like why people really like the original trilogy and they're trying to find that same thing in these new ones. I'm saying this when it comes to the prequel trilogy. I looked past all that cheesy stuff and I liked it because it had that, I don't know, there was that Star Wars thing about it. There was this, you know, the sort of the good versus evil sort of vibe around it and everything, right? When it came to...
that's not what the original trilogy was ever... That's not
listen. No, listen to me. I said... When I'm saying I'm a hypocrite now, is that because when I look at back of those films, I look as it, when I haven't watched them recently, but when I look at them, that's sort of the way I look at them because that's when I was a child watching those films, right? And now because obviously I've grown up from then, and now I'm watching all these other films and watching them again, I'm obviously seeing all these other like the cheesy dialogue, the at times terrible fucking acting, and all this shit, and then also with this. Like, I wonder if I was watching the sequel trilogy now as a kid, if I would have had that same thing compared to like now. That being said, I still kind of have that, but I want to go back to that in a bit. But just so that I can say that,
I don't know if you could extract that level of meaning out of these films. They're so soulless.
Again, we'll go on that in a bit because I want to talk about Rise of Skywalker.
I suppose people
there was something.
About the prequels.
There was another thing. I can't remember now because someone said something. I can't remember what it was. In terms of what's his name, Palpatine. What do you think? Obviously with his reveal, with Rey's reveal, Do you vibe with that, or do you not vibe?
I kind of liked the reveal, but I feel like it was an interesting story development that could have been much better handled. So, like, let's just assume that Rey's, like, grandfather was Palpatine. How much more interesting to a story would it be if it turns out that the, so, like, obviously the whole thing of, like, oh, they'll keep you safe on Jakku or whatever, so we'll abandon you on Jakku. How much more interesting would it be for the story development if we learned that the Resistance were the ones that killed Rey's parents? So Rey is all of a sudden conflicted between her maternal grandparent and these people that she views as the good guys, but also were responsible for her parents' death.
Yeah, but it wouldn't make any sense.
And it would give her more of a reason. Yeah, but it didn't make sense in the film as it stands. Why would Rey ever fucking turn to the dark side because Palpatine said, do it? Just why?
No, but
I would.
Okay, I'm going to say this right now. I personally think when it comes to Palpatine saying, like, kill me, I feel like that's so bullshit. Why the fuck would he want to let somebody else control his empire? His whole thing is he wants to control the entire empire. I feel like his entire plan was to get them both there no matter what. And then he would just fucking kill them. And then become, obviously this ultimate god almost. Because then he could control his entire empire. I don't think there was any way he wanted to put Rey on that throne. I feel like this entire thing he built up over the entire thing, obviously, you can be like, doesn't make any sense. I feel like
there were a lot of points where he could have just instantly owned her and she wouldn't have been able to do anything about it.
We saw that. He fucking was like, he was tied up on like a life support system. He was like he was a corpse. And he like just like flicked his arm and like pulled both Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo and Rey with just his fucking force hands. And they like just dropped their lightsabers and they just came forward. He wasn't even his like strongest then. And it's like, he's fucking super powerful then.
I feel like if he got killed though, his force would have made him like being able to control her, kind of thing.
I feel like it was supposed to be a callback to like the original trilogy's quote of like Ben Kenobi saying, "Strike me down and I shall become more powerful than you could have possibly imagined," or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, I think when it comes to like the explanation behind like all that,
but if you have to explain it, then it means that a person in the film couldn't. A person watching the film couldn't extrapolate that from what was actually happening.
No, but that's what I got from it.
Oh.
It's definitely not supposed to be like, for me. I think it's not really supposed to be something that's focused on, like, because obviously they didn't give it an explanation. They didn't like, because like if we really looked into it, I could go on a full-on like 10-hour rant about how
I could
like,
as well.
Like, for example, like if he did the whole cloning process, why didn't he just clone himself 10 fucking years younger? Or like,
because they don't want to rip off the entire Legends
the Sith are really
stories.
The Sith are like terrible people, right? And they like hate like they like hate threats to their power and stuff. Why would Palpatine even have children if they were a possible threat to his power?
Well, that's another thing, but again,
maybe
I feel like you could go into
not something we should dive into.
If we're going with your argument, Ariel, then why would Palpatine even have kids in the first place? It'd just be a threat to his power.
Maybe he foresaw the future. I don't fucking know.
That's fucking bullshit. You know it.
Yeah, but think about it. I could say whatever, and fucking the Forces apparently can do everything.
Yeah, the Force. Well,
it made Anakin alive, for God's sake. It made a fucking kid be born.
So let me get this straight. In your vision of what happens, Palpatine sees the future of him, and he thinks.
I didn't say that's my exact thing, but I'm just saying that as it is.
Yeah, but
I agree with the idea.
You're bringing in these arguments and you're purposefully striking them down, thinking that you're destroying criticism of this film. None of us brought this up spontaneously. This was something you wanted brought up. So I'm going to purposefully say that what you think happened is that Palpatine foresaw the future, saw something, and thought, "Oh crap, I need to have a kid." So not only does he have a kid, but he lets his kid have a kid, and then all of a sudden he wants her, and he realizes, "Oh shit, this kid's actually a threat to my power. I'm a dumbass, I shouldn't have had kids." And then he tries to kill her, she leaves him stranded on a planet, and then he doesn't do anything until the final film, where he's like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm actually alive now, time to kill her." That doesn't make any sense.
No, I didn't say he wanted to kill her.
So...
at stars anyway, but like, again,
right.
I could probably pick up...
Let's play a sound clip of you before saying, why would he want Rey to kill her? That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, look, I just want to say...
I thought he was just going to bring them both there so that he could kill both of them.
So, what I'm going to say is, I've said this before, I'm super biased when it comes to this film, right? Because one, I've fucking seen it 3 times. I've enjoyed it each time, and I will tell you right now, I've got like fucking millions of notes.
Go to your point.
That when I would shit talk probably this film for what it is, however, and I could probably right now go when I fucking record when I edit this anyway, I'll probably go through like what the hell did I say there? But it's more or less like
mission accomplished, boys.
But it's more or less the idea of like I said this at the start is that when I watched the whole film, every moment for me made sense. It didn't really like for me. It left me satisfied with what my thinking of everything was going on.
You seem
and that
to have
left
to
me
repeat
satisfied.
That to yourself very often, Ariel. Is that very true?
I'm saying that because of what you just said.
Okay.
But that thing is that because of, I guess, this sort of, again, that bias for Star Wars, the movies anyway, when it comes to that.
Yeah,
is
but
that
I'm
because
a massive
of that?
Star Wars fan.
I don't.
That's a weird
I
thing
feel
to
like
retreat into.
no, but like you have a completely different mindset to me when it comes to this,
Probably.
right? And
Definitely.
it's agreeable when it comes to reviews anyway. I'm not very harsh on many films or TV shows. However, when it comes to the point, I can be pretty harsh on them. But I would say, because the whole thing is, that film, to me, when I watched it, and that's why I said it again and repeated it, is that it left sort of that satisfied thing. And
fair.
I could spend the time. I betcha. I will tell you. I have like 100 notes of like 100 bullshit things about the film. Like some things which made no sense. How the hell did Kylo Ren get to the planet? He didn't have a ship. Where did he get the ship from? The ship
That's
has
a technical.
No, but that's one thing. The other one is that what the fuck happened to like why did the guy change sides? That General Hux, that makes like fucking no sense. The Knights of Ren were like literally there for
I could see General
shits and
Hux
giggles.
changing sides.
You know, also
needs to be
stuff.
developed a bit more.
There's 100 things. See, there's a lot of things that we could 100% go through, but
Also, I just
feel
want
like
to preface this by saying that I enjoyed the film, Ariel. It's just that I feel like I enjoyed it for reasons that I didn't enjoy it for the reasons that I would enjoy a good film. I enjoyed it because I saw Lando Calrissian again. I enjoyed it because of Luke Skywalker saying, to Rey, stop being a fucking pussy or whatever. And I enjoyed Ben Solo's.
Yeah, see, that's like a whole
Kylo
different
Ren's,
thing.
like struggle. But I didn't really enjoy many of the aspects of it that made a good film.
No, but like that other one with the Kylo Ren thing, I think that was
The
like one
new
of the
trilogy
things.
characters weren't very well fleshed out. They weren't very interesting. It just seemed to bank on Star Wars nostalgia, which I enjoyed. I love the Star Wars nostalgia, but at the same time, this was the point I was going to get to before, because I actually want to quickly touch on this before I forget. But
Okay.
Rogue One is just a cacophony of. It's just a cacophony of remember this from A New Hope, remember this from the original trilogy. Look, it's Grand Moff Tarkin, it's the Death Star, it's Darth Vader. It's all of these different aspects.
That was more at the end of the film, though. I mean, like.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like if a true Star
It's an
Wars
in-between.
nerd,
It's an
you would find
in-between.
a lot.
And plus, watching that final
It is an
scene of
in-between
like
film. It doesn't
that
just speak volumes
sacrifice.
that everyone's favorite film here, besides Dylan's, I would actually say, banks on some sort of Star Wars nostalgia. The Last Jedi is fucking nothing.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I was saying before. Is that the only reason why I fucking have put Rise of Skywalker at my top, because it banks on the rest of the saga.
But what about
That's
the
the
new
thing.
stuff? What about the stuff
But
that the
that's
Star Wars
no,
trilogy?
but
that
this I've
wants
said
to
this
develop,
before.
That,
No, like I've said this with Avengers Endgame. I fucking love Avengers Endgame out of all the other Marvel films because it banks on all the other Marvel films. And that's the same thing with books and TV shows, even like the new ones like Witcher and shit like
But
that.
that was
the
the
only reason
point of Avengers
Anything.
Endgame. Avengers Endgame was supposed to be a satisfactory conclusion to the...
Yeah, but don't you think that was also at some point that came
Are
into
you
the Rise of
Are you
Skywalker?
sure that the trilogy didn't feel satisfactory, despite the fact that... Don't get me wrong, it was definitely an ending, but it didn't feel satisfactory for any of the new characters. It didn't feel satisfactory to the prequel trilogy. Everything mentioned and satisfactorily resolved in that film was probably from the original trilogy.
All I'm
I
gonna
think
say
from
to
that degree, it's not really a satisfactory end to the Skywalker saga. It's just like, here's what happens 20 years later after the original trilogy.
because we're moving into more away from Rise of Skywalker, I think we'll move on to the next one in a bit. But all I want to say, I guess, to finalize that is that I'll probably talk about this later anyway. But yeah, I think that is a big thing when it comes to me. But before we ramble on more, is there anything else anyone wants to say about the movie? Specifically, the movie.
I'm going to retract my clause and stop attacking people for their opinions.
It's
fine. I'm interested in
it's
Dylan
fine,
like
it's fine,
The
it's
Last
fine.
Jedi, because I would actually agree that I think it's probably the most artistically merited film of the trilogy, but I also didn't like it because I'm a Star Wars fan, so,
Yeah. Is there anything else wants to talk about the film? Because the next thing we will talk about it as a whole thing. Is there anything else that wants to talk about Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, I mean, like, definitely some cool moments. Like, definitely, that part where Ben is, like, about to fight the Knights of Ren, and then he's, like, getting his ass kicked, and then Rey, fucking uses that force connection to transport the lightsaber to his hand.
Yeah.
God, that was so awesome. He just, like, fully takes all of them out single-handedly and goes all the way, backs up Rey, Such an awesome moment.
I think I was looking at this. When Ben Solo obviously like walks, he like comes to meet his like Knights of Ren. He like has his gun out and he like shoots backwards and he doesn't look. I swear that looks. I think I saw this somewhere else. It's like the exact same way that Han Solo does it in, I think it's Force Awakens, where he just like walks and shoots at the back. When it came to I guess also like the fight choreography and stuff like that. I think it was really good when it came to fight choreography. Especially when it came with those Knights of Ren, because this is the thing me and Christian talk about in The Mandalorian when it comes to, I feel like the creative direction of like, killing people is the best way to say it. I don't know what you call it. It's like some really good thing about The Mandalorian. I think this film actually does a really good job of it as well, because
we see IG-11 for the win.
Yeah, we see that in this, Ben is basically he like obviously has no weapon. Basically, he just has his force powers, and we see him basically get basically beaten up, and then obviously he gets lights and kicks their asses. But it's that sort of like those moments of like struggle and those moments of I guess creativity when it comes to like when it comes to actually visuals and stuff like that. It does like a brilliant job of doing that, and I feel like that's a whole thing. Also, another big thing is that sort of really draws you in these moments, and to sort of like really. I guess be involved in watching these moments, sort of keeping you focused on like what's going on. So obviously towards the end, it really draws you in there. Also towards the front, like I think like the first like 10 or 15 minutes or whatever of the film, is pretty fast paced, and I feel like those first couple of minutes cost a fucking lot of money because they move through a lot of shit, like a lot of different things. They went to like 5 different planets, to like whatever it is, hyperspace jump or whatever. And when
that scene,
visual jumps and stuff like that.
I love those parts.
Really good.
I wanted more of that. I wanted more hyperspace jump.
Yeah, it turns out it fucks up the ship, and maybe they don't want to do that. But there's some other like interesting things, like maybe I don't know if you knew some of these, but at the start, when Kylo Ren gets the Sith Wayfinder at like this like fire planet, whatever. So if I'm correct in saying this and reading this, so that planet was Mustafar, which is the planet that Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan and Anakin fought, and where Vader's castle was. However, what happened was...
Wait, really?
Yeah, what happened was that the reason why there's trees there, before Mustafar was a lava planet, it was like this garden planet, but somebody fucked up and basically turned it into a lava planet. Sometime in between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, they fixed the planet, and basically it started growing... trees, and where the Sith Wayfinder is where Vader's castle used to be, and those people there were like defending the trees and that because they were regrowing, which I thought was a really nice thing because
that's cool.
It's like we never really get to see what Vader's castle really looks like besides in Rogue One, but yeah, apparently that is what it was, and I thought that was a nice way to tie it back to some things like that, because it's almost like you can also take that as sort of a metaphor sort of thing. So there's this redemption of people, of Kylo Ren, essentially, in that. There's some other things I think it would be better to talk about in the next part of this Star Wars special. But, there's hundreds of other things in the film. Kylo Ren, when he rebuilds his helmet as well. There's all the Force ghosts, all the different names. I'll get the names up. I don't know if you knew all these names, but apparently, so these are the ones. So you probably know a couple of these. Obi-Wan was obviously in there. Anakin was in there. Qui-Gon Jinn was in there. Yoda, Luke. Apparently, I'm not too sure about this, but apparently Ahsoka from, the Clone Wars TV show.
Oh, yeah.
The one
Yeah.
Apparently she's in it. She was talking. Some guy from the Rebels TV show. Some other random Ayla Secura. I don't know if you know her. She's like a blue Twi'lek. She was in Revenge of the Sith in the Clone Wars. And apparently Mace Windu was in it as well.
You didn't hear Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah, I heard
No,
that.
yeah,
I never heard it, but like I remember seeing like memes in that with like, oh yeah, Samuel Jackson's in Rise of Skywalker. I was like, wait, what? Like,
but it's like it's some
motherfucking Sith.
But it's sort of like an interesting thing there because, in terms of lore anyway, it's like only some people can really become Force ghosts, so it's sort of like how did Mace Windu or Ahsoka or all these other people do it, so it's another sort of interesting thing that comes at the end there. But there's also other cameos. Wedge Antilles was in it as he was flying with Lando in the Millennium Falcon. He got like one line of dialogue. Fuck, man, people age. And there was apparently, that Admiral Akbar's son was apparently there. And
Yup was in it. He's been in the last couple of films.
Yeah, he was the he was one of the characters in Admiral Akbar's son in that. I guess it's sort of like we need to bring, we did kill Admiral Akbar last movie. We do need somebody else. But that, there's so many hundreds of other things in it. Fuck, I could be here all day trying to talk about everything in the film, but I feel like to tie it up, I feel like we can all still agree that it was an enjoyable film.
oh yeah,
Yep.
definitely loved it.
Like you, there was at least you enjoyed it. Maybe for different things and to a lesser degree in certain things, but I think we can also we enjoyed it, which was even though movies are made purely for money, there is still some aspect that they want to satisfy some people, at least give them some enjoyment. So at least they tick that box, and it definitely shined in some places and didn't shine in others. But I think that's at least a better way to end it. That at least it was enjoyable in different aspects. And I believe for that we'll move over to the Star Wars retrospective, which may come out in the next couple of days, but we'll find out.